Today's daily reading comes from the book of the Apocrypha. We are reading from the book of Jasher, chapter 70, verses 1 through 25, and it reads as follows. And in the third year from the birth of Moses, Pharaoh was sitting at a banquet, when Eliphareneth the queen was sitting at his right, and Bethia at his left. And the lad Moses was lying upon her bosom, and Balaam the son of Beor with his two sons, and all the princes of the kingdom were sitting at the table in the king's presence. And the lad stretched out his hand upon the king's head, and took the crown from the king's head, and placed it on his own head. And when the king and princes saw the work which the boy had done, the king and princes were terrified, and one man to his neighbor expressed astonishment. And the king said unto the princes who were before him at the table, what speak you, and what say you, O you princes, in this matter? And what is to be the judgment against the boy on account of this act? And Balaam the son of Beor the magician answered before the king and princes, and he said, Remember now, O my lord and king, the dream which you did dream many days since, and that which your servant interpreted unto you. Now therefore this is a child from the Hebrew children, in whom is the Spirit of God, and let not my lord the king imagine that this younger did this thing without knowledge, for he is a Hebrew boy, and wisdom and understanding are with him, although he is yet a child, and with wisdom has he done this, and chosen unto himself the kingdom of Egypt. For this is the manner of all the Hebrews to deceive kings and their nobles, to do all these things cunningly in order to make the kings of the earth and their men tremble. Surely you know that to Abraham their father acted thus, who deceived the army of Nimrod, king of Babel, and Abimelech, king of Gerar, and that he possessed himself of the land of the children of Heth and all the kingdoms of Canaan, and that he descended into Egypt and said to Sarah his wife, She is my sister, in order to mislead Egypt and her king. His son Isaac also did so when he went to Gerar and dwelt there, and his strength prevailed over the army of the Abimelech king of the Philistines. He also thought of making the kingdom of the Philistines stumble, and saying that Rebekah his wife was his sister. Jacob also dealt treacherously with his brother, and took from his hand his birthright and his blessing. He went into the Padan Aram of the house of Laban and his mother's brother, and cunningly obtained from him his daughter, his cattle, and all belonging to him, and fled away and returned to the land of Canaan to his father. His sons sold their brother Joseph, who went down into Egypt and became a slave, and was placed in the prison house for 12 years, until the former Pharaoh dreamed dreams and withdrew him from the prison house, and magnified him above all the princes in Egypt on account of his interpreting his dreams to him. And when God caused a famine throughout the land, he sent for and brought his father and all the brothers and the whole of his father's household, and supported them without price or reward, and bought the Egyptians for slaves. Now therefore, my lord king, behold, this child has risen up in their stead in Egypt to do according to their deeds, and to trifle with every king, prince, and judge. If it pleases the king, let us now spill his blood upon the ground, lest he grow up and take away the government from your hand, and the rope of Egypt perish after he will have reigned. And Balaam said to the king, Let us moreover call for all the judges of Egypt and the wise men thereof, and let us know if the judgment of death is due to this boy as you did say, and then we will slay him. And Pharaoh sent and called for all the wise men of Egypt, and they came before the king, and an angel of the Lord came among them, and he was like one of the wise men of Egypt. And the king said to the wise men, Surely you have heard what this Hebrew boy has, who is in the house, has done, and thus has Balaam judged in the manner. Now judge you also, and see what is due to the boy for the act he has committed. And the angel, who seemed like one of the wise men of Pharaoh, answered and said as follows, Before all the wise men of Egypt, and before the king of the princes, if it pleases the king, let the king send for men who will bring before him an onyx stone and a coal fire, and place them before the child. And if the child will stretch out his hand and take the onyx stone, then will we know that with wisdom has the youth done all that he has done, and we must slay him.